Good morning.
Welcome to our wilderness camp.
Live from the wilderness, sitting on the sand with the sun behind us, obviously. This is our, with our authentic desert nomad clothing.
That's what they would have won. Stops the sand getting in down your neck and your nose and everywhere.
But you can't talk very well, so
No,
I'm going to have mine down. And we've decided it's the new lockdown fashion statement. So all the cool kids are going to be wearing nomadic Bedouin headscarves, just to look great during lockdown. So if you want to do that, Ruth will show you how to make this at the end of the video. Ruth will give you a little tutorial.
Little demo.
Yeah. I think you should. So we're gonna be doing our next one in the series that we've been on. So this is our final one where we've been looking at things that remind us of church in the Old Testament. That catchy series title, and this is our fourth and final one, and it's Ruth's choice. So she's chosen one that is in the wilderness
and includes food.
And you can find it. Nice. You can find it in Exodus chapter 16, which is near the start of the Bible because it goes Genesis then Exodus, and so it's not very far through, and we're looking at chapter 16.
We are, and it's a really cool story. It's maybe I'll tell you at the end why I've chosen it and what it includes.
Yeah, because I'm really intrigued to know why this reminds Ruth of church, being in the desert.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I hope you're on the edge of your seats waiting to find out what is this all about for church. Shall we read it?
Yeah.
Let's start.
Are we ready?
I think
not many people watching.
That's okay. If you're watching, I hope you're sitting comfortably because we're going to begin.
Amazing. So this is kind of distracting. There we go. Out of the way. Okay. So Exodus 16, and it starts by saying, the whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. You might know the Sinai Peninsula is like a pointy-shaped bit to the east of the main part of Egypt.
Geography lesson right there. So wait, what's been going on? Where have they come from?
Okay, well,
why are they there?
So the whole Israelite community, which is like hundreds of thousands of people, they were trapped in Egypt. They were slaves to the Egyptian pharaoh. He had them doing all sorts of horrible things. Back-breaking work was what they were doing. Back-breaking work.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get out. So there were some incredible things happen, basically.
Like amazing miracles.
Massive miracles. 10 of them. Mind-blowing miracles that ended with something crazy, and they basically the Egyptians were like, get out right now, we want you gone. So they ran away across the sea. There was another miracle because God parted the sea, because the Egyptians had decided that actually they didn't want them to go. They were quite pleased with this workforce who were working for free.
Be miracles.
That's from the Prince of Egypt. If you
Copyright.
haven't seen it,
I'll stop there, otherwise we'll get a copyright thing.
We will do. And so they'd walked across this sea. God had done like 11 massive, mind-blowing miracles. They come to the desert and they're like, great, okay, freedom. But then
someone stopped watching because I started singing. That's fine though. So what's it like in the Sinai Peninsula?
Okay, so when you think of desert, you might think of just sand, but the Sinai Peninsula is desert because it doesn't rain, not because it's just sand. So there's big rocks, there's mountains, it's not like kind of super soft sand for miles and miles. You've got gnarly mountainy bits. There might be some little pockets where you get little springs, and so you might have some trees with some date palms, but generally hot, rocky, dry, probably really cold at night, really hot during the day. That's what the Sinai Peninsula is like.
So is it pretty hard to survive out there?
Oh yeah, you're going to have like snakes and lizards are all the kind of things that will survive. That'll be it.
And is there anything to eat out? Like, is there a supermarket?
No.
So?
No shops.
No shops?
No. There might be some...
Delivery?
Definitely no delivery. There might be some, like, cactuses. That kind of thing might grow.
Okay.
Little things like that. But there's not really very much food.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 100,000 people
Out there in the
there.
wilderness.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
It's
Do you want to carry on?
Yeah, I do.
We should probably keep going.
In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said, so Moses and Aaron are the people that are leading them.
Yeah.
They said to him, "If only we had died by the Egyptians' hands. We would be..." No. "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat. We ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into the desert to starve this entire people to death."
Wait, but that doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, why have you brought us here to die? We could have died already.
Yeah.
So,
So
surely you're like, we're alive!
no. So there was no yippee, we're alive. It was, we're alive. Oh, but now we're going to die because we're hungry.
So as soon as it gets hard, they're like, oh, this is too much. I wish I was dead.
As soon as it gets hard and they get hungry,
Yeah.
I know how that feels. They basically want to give up and sleep and get cross.
Okay.
So Israelites, first people,
Get hungry.
get hungry. Then the Lord said to Moses, so God intervenes. Straight away he's like, "Great, I'm going to talk to Moses and give him a plan. I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go
I'm
out..."
imagining like loaves of bread falling from the sky.
Well, this is what it says. Who knows what it would have looked like? They didn't know what it was going to look like, but it tells us a bit later. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in. That is to be twice as much as they gather on other days. Okay, so whatever's there, they're to go out, get it, bring it back in.
Get as much as you can.
Prepare
It's
it.
like every morning, Easter egg hunt, but it's bread.
Yeah.
Bread hunt. Every morning.
Every morning, bread hunt.
3, 2, 1, go. Cool.
Okay,
Carry
so
on.
then I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because it basically just repeats that bit a few times. So
Moses says it to the people.
Moses said to the people, and then Aaron says it, and then blah, blah, blah. So then verse 13. That evening, quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning, there was a layer of dew around the camp.
What? Where did the quail come from?
Well, so quail are little birds, like chickens, something like that. And later on in the Bible, it says that the Israelites want meat as well. So they've had bread, and then now they want meat. And they've had a good little moan again. And God says, God has such a good sense of humour. God says, "Fine, I'm going to make so much meat fall from the sky that it starts to come out of your nostrils." Says it in Numbers.
That is an insane amount of meat.
So much meat that you can eat as much as you want, and it's going to come out of your nose.
That is crazy.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of gross.
It says it like
kind of
covered
awesome.
the ground to like that high.
So all
like
over
imagine
the
it
camp.
snowed like to that deep, but it's just
But
meat.
it's chickens. Yeah.
Crazy. Bible's so fun.
It is. So that was in the evening, the quail came, and then in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp, so like little water droplets all around the camp.
Uh-huh.
When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. So I don't know if you ate cereal for breakfast, like Frosties. We have bran flakes because we're old and boring. But I imagine that Frosties might be kind of what it looks like. We're not old and boring,
Thank
sorry,
you.
love.
We're dressed like Bedouin on the floor reading the Bible. We are not old and boring.
So they were like little flakes, like Frosties or something.
Yeah. Cool.
So that was all over the floor of the desert.
Great.
When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, "What is it?"
What is
because
it?
they did not know what it was. That's what it says in the Bible. What is it? Because they didn't know what it was. Suddenly there's like
That's
these
what I would ask.
little flakes of flakes. So bizarre.
Cool.
Moses said to them, "This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded you. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer for each person you have in your tent."
Wait, how much is an omer?
An omer is, it says, about 2 litres. So this is my desert pot. It's probably about this full would be what they were going to gather.
Everyone gets that much?
Everyone in their
Nice.
household gets that much.
Food time.
Definitely.
Let's go.
So the Israelites did what they were told. They gathered as much as they wanted. Some gathered lots. So if you were a super hungry person, you could have loads. Some just gathered a little bit. Everyone gathered as much as they needed. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. Shocker. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and it began to smell.
Blah.
Oh, gross.
Maggots?
Maggots, like little wormy things.
And it was stinky.
And it was super stinky.
Oh, man. And if you're living in a tent and your tent gets stinky,
Not cool.
oh, man.
And Moses got really cross. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as he needed, and when the sun grew hot, it just melted away. But the rules were, on the 6th day, they were to gather twice as much, 2 omers for each person, and for the leaders of the community. So they came and reported this to Moses. He said
right,
to
so
them,
they actually just went out like normal,
Yeah.
and then they were gathering it in, and
Yeah.
they were like, oh wait, I've got twice as much as I usually gathered.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, because they're kind of going like they don't know that that's the instruction. They just go out and then they're like, Moses, we've got like twice as much as we need. What's going on?
I totally hadn't realised that. So it's like magic bread. So they've gathered up what they think they were going to gather up each other day.
Yeah.
But it just happens to be twice as much.
Because it's like it's been magic before. Because like they go out and they're all just like hungry hippo gathering, gathering in as much as they can. And when they get back to camp, they're like, we've each got exactly the right amount. So you can't get too much and you can't get too little. No one doesn't have enough food.
It's crazy. So then...
So now they've got twice as much.
I realised what I said. So they came back, the leaders reported it to Moses.
Yeah.
And then Moses said, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. So bake what you want to bake now, boil what you want to boil, save whatever is left, and keep it till morning. So they saved it till morning, as Moses commanded. And this time, it did not stink or get maggots in it. How cool is that? So on every other day, if you left it till morning, if you gathered more than you thought you needed, it would turn to stinky maggoty food. But on the 7th day, miracle, it wasn't gross and manky. It was awesome and fresh and ready to use.
It's like God saying, look, I've designed you to work 6 days and then to have a day of rest.
So I'm going to design your food to do that as well.
It's going to be impossible for you to do it. Because then, actually, what it says in the bit that we're going to skip over this next bit because we need to keep moving. But it says like when it gets to the 7th day, they're like, well, I'm still going to go out and see if I can get some more, and there's none there. So like every 7th day, none appears, but they got twice as much the day before.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It doesn't make sense. This food supply that God has given them just doesn't make sense. They can try and work it out and be like, oh, it's like this, but it's also like this, but it doesn't make sense.
Miracles.
Miracle food.
So this is just more miracles, isn't it? Because he was doing miracles to bring them out of Egypt and get them across the sea, and now he's doing more miracles to provide for them.
Yeah.
So cool. Love it.
Cool. And so then we're going to skip that little bit, and then we're going to... Thanks. So the people of Israel called the bread manna. Now manna means, what is it? Cool. So they said, what is it, when they first went out, and then they decided that what is it is a good name to call the thing that they didn't know what it was.
I'm going to have some what is it this morning.
Thanks.
Is that what what's it means? Because when you eat what's it, you go, what's it?
Okay.
It means the same as I don't know.
So, the people of God called this bread manna. It was white like coriander seed. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. I've got some coriander seeds here.
You can't see it.
You can't see that. No, I just got going to roll. So they're not actually white like we'd say white paper was. They're
like beigey.
White like beigey. So maybe white in the desert was more of a kind of sandy colour. It tasted like wafers made with honey. So we've got some honey here. Chris loves honey.
That sounds pretty good.
So wafers.
That looks like
so
it's going to fall off.
It was white like coriander seed, tasted like honey.
Yeah.
Like wafer honey.
Wafers dipped in honey. Wafers made of honey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, again, is just another thing that they can't really explain. It's not like, oh, it's bread, or oh, it's this. It's like they're flakes of something that tastes like this, but also like this.
God just created a completely new food substance for them to eat. Amazing.
Yes, that was made out of dew
so cool.
and found on the ground. Crazy. Anyway.
Cool.
So this is what the Lord has commanded. This is what Moses was saying to them. Take an omer of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so that they can see the bread I gave you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. So God's saying, we don't want you to store this up from day to day for you to eat, but we do want you to store up some, so that in the future, when all of the generations, they've settled in new towns or they're in different places, and they can be like, wait, what? They can have proof of God's provision with them. And another miracle, this one didn't go stinky and disgusting. For presumably hundreds of years, this was carried around with them as a reminder for God's provision, and it didn't go smelly and didn't get maggots in it.
So they can use it to remember how good God is.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Like a little museum sample of manna.
Nice. And they carried on doing this for 40 years while they were in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So, but now, let me ask you, why does this remind you of church, though?
Well, this reminds me of church. It's a little bit rogue, but I think church is sometimes a little bit unexplainable. So in this time of lockdown, we are still church, right?
Yeah.
And we're missing things of church. What are we missing? We're kind of missing the people, but not just talking to the people because we can see them, and not just high-fiving the people because that doesn't... We're missing church.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really unexplainable about how incredible church is, what you get from it, the love and the teaching and the worshipping, and it's kind of a bit undescribable, like the manna. It's a bit like this, and it's also like this, and it's also like this. And that is one of the things. I've got a few reasons.
You've got more.
That's one reason that this story reminds me of church. The other thing is just that feeling of going out, gathering with other people, because this wouldn't have been on their own that they were. It wasn't just like I go out and gather food for me. It would have been the whole company of Israel, all going out together and gathering this food.
Yeah.
And that sustaining thing, that meal, that eating together, something that God has provided us. That I think is the biggest thing for me. So we go to church buildings, we hear church online, and it's feeding us spiritually. It's something that God has provided. We don't always understand it, but we take it in, and it feeds us, and it keeps us full and sustained.
That's cool.
And that is why this reminds me of church.
And we sometimes eat together as well.
Oh, that was the final one. Yes.
We actually eat together, and that's a really cool part of being church, is that we get to physically eat together.
Eat our wafers tasting like honey.
And and when we do get to come together and we eat together, we often share that special meal where we're eating bread, bread from that we're like, God, thank you for giving us this this bread from heaven, Jesus. And we're remembering what the amazing miracles that God has done for us to save us and rescue us.
Yeah.
So this is totally like church.
Yeah.
But what about the wilderness bit? Because we're live from the wilderness right now. What makes you think of the wilderness right now?
Well, do you feel like you're in a bit of a wilderness at the moment? Do you?
I do.
So I feel a little bit like this is a social wilderness. Like we can't see the people around us, we can't touch them, we can't high-five them, we can't have face-to-face conversations with people. And also, there's quite a lot of things in life at the moment that we're not able to do. And I wonder whether the Israelites felt like that. There was they were remembering back to their old life, and even though it wasn't always great, there was something about the comfort of what was known and the security of having food provided every day to them by Pharaoh and having the rules that they followed. It was kind of comfortable, but actually what God was doing was bringing them into a new place, showing them a new way of life, and sometimes it felt really hard. But there was something I think about that time between Egypt and then before going into the promised land. God almost needed to do something to the Israelites in that time between this place of hardship and difficulty but provision, and before this place of abundance and great things. God needed to kind of show them that he was faithful and show them that he provided for them and give them all of the stuff that they needed, like he was the one that was providing that. God needed to do that in this time, and I wonder whether we're going to look back, and I hope, this is making me feel slightly emotional, I hope that we look back on this time once we're out of lockdown and out of this crazy time. I wonder if we're going to look back on this time and think, gosh, God was really doing stuff, wasn't he? He brings us out of whatever was like before, and before whatever life is like after this. Actually, what's God going to do in this time in between to teach us about him and provide for us? Because he is.
That's so cool. Can I pray about that?
Yeah, sure.
God, thank you for this amazing reminder of what church is like, that we gather and we eat and everyone has enough, everyone shares, and that you're providing for us spiritually and physically. And God, right now we feel like we're in the wilderness. It's this time of uncertainty and we don't know what the future's going to bring. And we're looking back and thinking, oh, it was so much better then. But God, I pray that you would provide for us in this time like you provided for the Israelites in the wilderness, that you would keep us going. And God, I pray that you would be teaching us new things, that you would give us new patterns and new ways of getting to know you in this time, so that when we reach that the time when we can come out of lockdown, God, that we would be just your people and going for it and understanding more about you. And God, we pray that that be soon. Amen.
Amen. So that is our today's Bible reading.
So cool, I loved it.
From Exodus 16. If you want to go back and have a look over it, see what else you can find. There's, like we did in that, we've read it through a couple of times this morning, but even as we were reading this out to you, Chris noticed something else. So see what it is that you notice in it. God's word speaks to us all the time and it's incredible. So have a look and see what you can find. And in about 5 minutes, we have a new song coming out on YouTube. It's called Supernatural, talking about the amazing miracles that God does and how that is kind of what the dance is. And how we can experience that kind of supernatural life now. And we're going
to be using, that's going to be great, because we're going, after this series, we're going to be starting to look towards Pentecost and coming in the Holy Spirit, and we're going to be using that song for that. So it's a good chance to learn that song and have a workout at the same time.
It's exhausting.
But the final thing we're going to do in this last 5 minutes, while you're waiting for that song to go live on YouTube, Ruth's going to show you how to do your very own Bedouin headscarf.
So,
she was taught by actual Bedouin people.
I went to Morocco a few years ago and we went off into the desert on some camels, and basically we were all completely we had like a cap and they were like, that's not going to do. So they taught us how to do this with our headscarf. So if you would like to learn, I'm not sure anybody would.
Yes, they would. They definitely would.
Give it a like if you want. No, don't, because that would be really sad if no
Come
one
on, just show us.
So, you need a scarf. I'm going to take this one off. There you go, quick unwind. Oh my goodness, hair everywhere. You need a scarf. Something that isn't like really skinny one, so just a little necktie probably won't work. You want something that's a little bit wide, and then I'm probably going to have to stand up to do this.
Yeah, so I'll be cameraman for you.
Okay. Don't show them the messy house.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, now, girls, if you normally flip your head upside down and dry your hair with your hair upside down, you've already got a head start on this. So, you want to flip your head upside down, not your head, your hair, and then take the scarf behind your hair, like that, and then kind of pull it round to the front, so that your hair is kind of all contained in it. Now, if you're a guy and you don't have much hair, it's the same theory. You just want to pull it to the front and kind of clasp it here. And then you just want to start twisting, which is a bit of a faff and isn't going to work brilliantly. It's not going to look great on here. But twist and twist and twist. Oh, it also works quite well if you've got quite a long scarf. Twist and twist and twist, like this. And then you want to wrap it around like that. Keep twisting. Try and remember what around is. Go. That's fine. Maybe too close.
This is just great content right here.
Can't believe you're making me do this. So twist it all the way around so the twist comes up to the front, and then you want to poke it up through this gap there. Nice. So that's it, kind of twisted round, flatten it out. Oh, that's better than it was before, that's fun. And then you use this bit. Shall I go back a little bit? If you fold it over a little bit, and then this bit tucks into this side. So if you want it just loose and hanging to kind of warm your neck up a little bit, you can do. Or if you want it to be kind of mask-like to keep the sand out of your nose, then you tuck it up like this into there.
Because there's so much sand in lockdown.
So much sand in lockdown.
Yeah.
And then you might have like a jalaba, I think they call them, which is like a kind of robe thing. And then you tuck that into the top of it, so you wouldn't get anything coming in there.
Cool. This is our new face shielding for lockdown time.
Yes.
So,
but probably not very effective because there's lots of air gaps down here, so don't actually use this as a mask. Health and safety announcement.
Cool.
There we go. So that is how you ever wanted to know. There's still people watching. Yay! Thank you.
Everyone's going to be tuning in to find this out on YouTube.
Yeah. So there we go. That is how we how you.
Do you want to say goodbye?
Headscarf. I'd love to say goodbye. I mean, I don't because this has been too much fun. Thank you so much for watching from our wilderness. We will see you. Oh, so next week we are still going to do a Bible reading.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this down because it's wobbling all over the place. So Chris said the last one. This is the last one. It's the last one in this series of church in the Old Testament. So we will be back next week with a different story from the Bible that we will be doing something with.
Because it's the day before Ascension Day. So next Thursday is Ascension Day, and we'll be coming to you live on Wednesday. We're going to be doing about Jesus going back up to heaven. Yeah, that is what we'll be doing next week. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Zoe Burton. You're great too. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. Have a great week. Bye.